Ship.
A ship. That's bald.
I like that. I like that.
Ship.
I haven't heard the word ship in a while.
I feel like you're right.
It's August 7th, 2013, and you're listening to another episode of Bites Over Bagel! It's Chicago's favorite tech morning show. With me in the studio today is one Mr. Brett Mackey.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Everyone's favorite nemesis, Dave Seidler.
We need a ship.
And myself, John Osler. Heather is in Seattle.
She is.
What is she doing? And then Vancouver.
She's probably looking for a job.
She's probably trying to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said she's not coming back.
There's a lot of good radio in Seattle.
I don't blame her.
She got recruited.
That's a really good point. There is good radio in Seattle.
I know. Yeah.
Featured on today's show, stick around.
John Roa.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Featured on today's show is
David
Vinca and Luke Shepard.
Oh,
That's
boy.
correct.
From eSpark Learning.
Yeah. It's a great interview. I like these guys.
Yeah,
I like
it was
these
our
guys.
first duo on the show,
you
right?
should have heard me try to intro them the first time. I was shaking.
Well,
right
it's
then.
always a treat to hear you
But
intro people.
I think I nailed it. The second take was good. Good.
Yeah, we made them hold hands the whole interview.
That's interesting. And finally, it is our 25th episode today.
God, congratulations
We
to
haven't
us.
missed a week in
Very
25
nice.
weeks.
Very nice.
Yeah. Good job to you and you.
You guys remember the first episode?
Yeah.
Don Bora. Then we had some mishaps with the Troy Hennikoff interview.
Yeah, we recorded Don and Troy's interviews on an iPhone with the iTalk recorder. We started very nimble.
Yeah.
Very agile.
Troy wanted to get us out of that place. He had stuff to do.
Yeah, he really did, actually. There was a tech event. We were late. There was a tech event right after this interview. He's like, I literally have 10 minutes.
Yeah, we forgot our computer. We had to bust out the iPhone. John's hand was shaking. It was great.
It's true. But he had a great interview for the small amount of time we had. It was awesome.
Yeah, we've had some really, really good ones. If we can play you all the uncut content that we have, it would be phenomenal.
Yeah,
you'd be falling asleep, but there's some gems in there.
Yeah, so you guys know we edit the interviews down quite a bit. They're usually about 40 to 50 minutes each, and we get them down to 12 to 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
a lot of stuff out there.
I think Heather's contract is up on episode 25, right?
Yeah,
That's why she's not here today. She's holding out.
Yeah, she's holding out.
Negotiating. Yeah.
Negotiating. So, 25th episode, we get a new website, everyone.
Yeah.
So I know you guys are all sick of that website we have, and
Next week.
it doesn't make any sense. So
Well, the nice thing about this is if there's a particular interview you listen to, you can now share out that particular landing page. So
really
you can be like,
2013 style over here, guys.
for sure.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Yeah, so check it out next week. We'll have a new website up, much more content, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
I love you.
The title of today's episode is
Guys, I got a joke. There's a nun and a priest.
Are you hungry?
Yeah,
Oh, do you want some bagels?
sure.
You should go on over to New York City Bagels and get your kettle baked goodness any day.
Yeah. And if you want to get some caffeine in the blood, head on over to Boat Trust Coffee. Check them out at boattrust.com. Seth and Phil are giving piggyback rides today.
Yo.
Head on over.
I'm fairly certain after this show that both of those sponsors are going to drop us.
That's all right. That's all right.
It's now time for Chicago Madness! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, entrepreneurs of all ages, we have a winner of the 2013 Chicago Tech Startup Madness Championship. In one corner, Mystery Tackle Box. In the other corner, Project Travel. And after a tally of votes for 1 week, Project Travel is our 2013 champion.
Wow. Wait. Congratulations.
30 Project Travel just beat out 31 other Chicago startups
Very impressive.
from
That's
all
awesome.
over the damn place.
That's right.
600 West, 1871.
B2B,
They
B2C.
own this shit.
They did. And
Wow.
They took down a giant too. Mystery Tackle Box
Yeah,
had like 70,000 followers
A
on Facebook.
giant.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
what were they doing this weekend?
They actually were out fishing, no lie.
That sounds fishy.
Yeah. The owner, Jeremy, you hope you caught some fish.
Well, I'll just say, if you write an original song in like 3 days and put puns in it, you're going to win stuff. Okay?
Yeah, they had a
And
nice pitch they
in
put
this
out last
case,
week.
they really, I think, pulled it off.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
guys, great job in pulling it off. You're the first winner. We're going to do this every year, and we've got an awesome prize pack we're putting together. And tune in next week, y'all. We're going to have a little interview on the show to talk about what's going on over there. So,
Who are we going to have on again? From
Jennifer Thomas.
Jennifer Thomas.
Nice.
CEO. So.
Yeah.
And so this concludes 2013's Chicago.
Tech
Start
Up Madness!
Farewell.
Today's adult beverages are brought to you by Koval. Yeah. Distillery. They make some fine spirits, y'all, and I'm going to be drinking them all day long.
Chicago's very own.
If you want to drink some too, head on over to koval-distillery.com. You can go over there and get a tour, actually,
Yeah.
of the distillery. Pretty sweet.
Sure.
Pretty sweet setup. Yep. Do a tasting. It's good stuff.
Today's featured interview is with eSpark Learning. We've got David Vinca, the co-founder and CEO, and Luke Shepard, the CTO. Welcome to the show, fellas.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. They are both terrified because they do not know what this show's all about. And it's going to be
Cooker.
the pressure cooker. That's what we're calling the show today. Ooh. All right, so we typically start these shows by asking questions like, what is eSpark and what are you guys doing over there? Ooh, where to begin?
Stumped.
Where to begin?
Go for it, David. So we're trying to solve two problems for students in schools. So what we do is we partner with school districts to help them personalize learning. So teachers that we talk to, every great teacher wants to provide students with a unique and differentiated learning plan. So in a typical fifth grade class, it's pretty amazing that there is essentially kindergartners, students are really far behind, and students who are performing at the seventh grade level. And every great teacher we talk to really feels bad about not being able to meet all of those students' unique learning needs. So we help teachers differentiate instruction or provide personalized learning paths to those students using the iPad and this vast ecosystem of really high-quality educational apps. So for the teacher, we're providing that tool. For students, we feel it's a tragedy that for most students in this country, the most sophisticated and engaging technology is being used after school as an entertainment and distraction device. So there's nothing wrong with that, but we'd also like to use it to help students, succeed in school so they have success in life. And so we're really committed to kind of helping teachers with their problems and also making learning a lot more fun and engaging for students in school.
Very cool. And how long have you guys been around? When did this all begin?
3 years ago.
Ooh,
so 3 years.
so you almost have a bachelor's degree in yourself.
Yeah. Whose idea was it?
It's all David.
All David. Yeah.
I claim no credit because actually, if you kind of look at what we're doing today, it's very far from what we were doing in the very first days. And like lots of people, customers, teachers, students, and our team members have added really important things to what we're doing. So I think the only thing that I can claim credit for is listening to really great ideas and adopting them.
So what did those early days look like?
Well, Luke wasn't around, which meant there was no capability to write software. So we were a tech company without any engineers.
Wow.
Go figure, right?
Yeah,
So the only thing that I knew how to do was like PowerPoint. I was a former management consultant. I had lots of PowerPoint skills.
Love PowerPoints.
It's great, right?
Yeah.
How dare you?
I hate you right now.
How dare you?
Who does that?
Sorry, David.
That's okay. So, Eric Ries talks a lot about in the lean startup, paper prototyping and really MVP. Well, our MVP was paper versions of our software that we delivered to students weekly in person, live, face-to-face.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of the very early days. We were kind of an idea that we were tinkering with students and teachers, and no ability to kind of enact that in software and really scale it up and perfect it.
Was this like city sanctioned early on, or was you were just working individually with teachers that you knew? Or
So I met with 2 principals and convinced them to let me work with a group of their students over the summer, and they thought it was a crazy idea. I could tell by looking in their face when I described it. And iPad wasn't unveiled yet, so we were going to give iPod Touches to the students to take home with them, and we had to provide that. So it wasn't sanctioned. It was really, I used some bonus money that I had from my last job and bought all these suites of iPod Touches and gave them to students. And the principals were basically letting me work with these students with one of their teachers over the summer.
Prior to this, had you done the paper prototype keynote thing before, or was that sort of your first time?
This was the first time with it.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like kind of the only option, right? I didn't know how to write code.
Sure.
And it was kind of the only thing to actually, I did kind of just instinctively believe that like the best idea, doesn't survive first contact with students in live classrooms. So I had these ideas I thought were incredible, but wanted to kind of really start getting to learn from them. And so I wanted to get into classrooms right away and start learning from it.
You guys provide a platform that is a curated list of apps, right, for kids to learn from. Mm-hmm. Can you explain what that product looks like?
There's this vast ecosystem of educational apps, and we have a team of former teachers and a data scientist that are evaluating those apps and picking the best ones to teach each individual skill in math and reading from kindergarten to 8th grade. And when a student comes into the eSpark program, they log into the eSpark app, and then they're guided through videos, assessments, and these apps that we've downloaded and installed on their device that are selected to meet their unique learning needs. And so we go through this diagnosis process with each student up front to know whether they're performing, and we help kind of match them to the right learning path. And then when they log into eSpark, they get their assignment for the day.
So is it approved curriculum by the state that they're actually learning from, or how do you like weed out and make sure that what they're learning is actually beneficial to them and approved by each school and classroom?
Early on, we had a lot of problems with that because this seemed like a lot of fun and games. Educational apps on iPads are mostly game-based, and some teachers and school leaders kind of asked that very question, like, this can't be rigorous, this can't be real learning. Now, after the first year, 6 months or a year, we have quantitative proof and lift in student achievement on the tests that the schools care about. And so we have this really nice validation of like, this is actually real learning, and we're helping your students succeed at a pace that's kind of unprecedented. And so we're not officially approved by the state or any kind of big body. The only approval we have is the most important, we think, and for our customers, is that on their test that they care about, we're clearly moving the needle.
Got it. So it's more of like a supplemental tool in the classroom.
Right.
It's not like part of the actual curriculum that's being integrated in. It's like,
right,
let's do this as well.
Well, that said, we do have some of the best teachers I've ever seen. I've met a bunch of teachers, and the ones who work at eSpark are incredibly talented. So they used to be teaching in the classroom. Some of them have been principals. Several have probably a combined many decades of experience. So the teachers that we work with end up trusting those teachers' choices and selections, and they're used in the classroom. So the teachers in the classroom can look over their shoulders and kind of see what the kids are doing, and they realize that it's academically rigorous.
So what's the teacher feedback been from you guys? It seems like it's working for the kids, teachers.
Yeah. They love it.
Yeah.
Generally.
I think what they appreciate is that they're meeting the needs of each student in their class. Mm-hmm. The best teachers really do want to meet this diverse learning needs, and even the best teacher finds it really hard to differentiate instruction for all students. And so you usually teach to segments or segments of the class, often teaching to the middle. And so they feel really good that they're able to provide something for students. The other thing we've heard, it's more about the student response, but we've heard from teachers that students are requesting to skip recess and skip lunch to play eSpark, which really shocked us. I don't know if you remember
who wants to do that?
Yeah. Those are sacred times in elementary and middle school, right? And so to hear that
awesome.
really kind of led us to believe that there's something special here.
I think this is important, actually. You touched on something. So you worked at Facebook. I know we're getting a little bit off track here, but you worked at Facebook, and now you're back in Chicago. Can you talk about where are you from, and how did you get to Facebook, and why are you back in Chicago and not still in California?
That doesn't sound right, but yeah, for sure, we want to know that.
What, in this backwater over here? Come on, Chicago's awesome.
Well, a lot of people, there's a big, I guess, theory that everyone moves to California, and you have come back. And
I did move there first, though.
Okay, cool.
No, I grew up here, as you kind of alluded to. I quit about a year and a half ago and went looking for education. I wanted to go work in the education industry. I think we're on the cusp of a big disruption, and I can see it. Having now been in it for a year, the industry is actually quite different now than even it was a year ago in terms of a bunch of companies and kind of innovation that's going on in schools. And we're seeing it in our sales when we talk to schools. They're much more receptive to this idea. Like David said a couple years ago, it was like, you crazy using this stuff? And now it's like, well, how do you guys compare with, Chromebooks and all this other stuff? Like, there's a bunch of options now, and I think that's only going to grow. So I looked around at a bunch of companies on the West Coast and in Chicago. There's a bunch of companies out in the Bay Area. There's actually probably a dozen or so ed tech companies here in Chicago that are decent. And I was actually still in the process of looking, and I asked David for advice, and his advice was to join his company.
Oh, that was...
You did say he was persuasive, so...
The only thing I can think of is...
He got you a pony, didn't he? He bought you a pony.
Of course.
So here I am.
So what were you doing before eSpark, completely, years before? What were you up to, and how did it lead you to starting your own company?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a strange backstory, which I'm sure you've never heard on the show, and I bet you won't hear it again.
You'd be surprised.
Okay, and I think it makes the career move make sense. So my father used to be a Roman Catholic priest, and my mother used to be a Roman Catholic nun. Really interesting upbringing.
we have not...
last week.
Yeah, it was Matt Moog, I think. Who was, sorry.
So one of the things my parents imbued in me and my brothers and sisters is this value to have our work help people in a really meaningful way. So I wanted to act on that value, but very early in kind of my life and my career, I got really interested in entrepreneurship and business. So I studied business undergrad. I got an MBA at the University of Chicago and studied social entrepreneurship, and really wanted to find a way to use this for-profit institution or a company to help people in a meaningful way. And for a long time, I was kind of searching for great examples of that. And then after graduating from my MBA, I spent 4 years at ZS Associates, the management consulting firm here in Chicago. And 4 years in, I was really intellectually engaged, loved the work, was working really long hours, but I didn't feel like I was having the kind of impact or meaning that I wanted. And so I just took a sabbatical. I didn't have any ideas for what it would be to start, and I was kind of searching for inspiration. And I read this book called Work Hard, Be Nice. It's the story of a KIPP charter schools. And it's a really inspiring story, what these schools and other schools like them, it doesn't have to be a charter school, are doing, which is taking students in Chicago, for example. There's 400,000 students in Chicago public schools. Guess what % of those students will graduate from college?
Should I guess?
Go
You
for
should
it.
guess.
56%. It's got to be way high.
I
I don't know if you're in that group.
15%.
You don't get two guesses.
13. 12. 11.
That's correct. 12%. Sorry.
So it's a really sad number. I wish it was any of the numbers you mentioned. It's 6%.
Holy cow.
So imagine, outside of tech. So I think we're in a little weird world in tech where, degrees don't matter as much. But outside of that world, without a college degree, there's not a lot of great options for students. And I think that system of 400,000 students and we're getting 6% of them through college is a terrible, terrible tragedy. And I think everyone that's in the system, in some degree, empathizes with that problem and wants to change it. Well, these KIPP schools that I'm talking about, and there's others like them, get those same students, and they operate in North Lawndale in Chicago. They get about 36% of students from those same neighborhoods to graduate from college. Like nowhere near where we want it to be, closer to 100%, but huge performance improvement for these students. And that performance improvement is a dramatic transformation in their life, as we could expect, right? And so I saw a lot of excitement in early education, K-8 education, and what great schools and great teachers were doing to really transform lives. And I thought about becoming a teacher and becoming a principal and going that route and realized I probably wouldn't be very good at that. And so instead wanted to help the teachers that were doing this great work and started, figuring out what their problems were and what if there was a way that tech or I could help.
Of the things you guys have developed so far, is there sort of one component or one thing that you've made that's more, or it's like statistically more effective, or a certain lesson or something? Like,
Sure.
Do you guys have a hero in that app?
There's a bunch of them. I mean, we're remarkably effective. We, as David mentioned, we have a data scientist who joined us a few months ago who did years of education research at U Chicago and Harvard, and she's kind of helped bring a lot of statistical rigor. And the average, if you look at physical textbooks, the average turnover time for when schools buy new textbooks is every 7 years. That's like, you'll buy a textbook in 2013 and it won't be updated until 2020. And that's, kind of crazy. If you think about how frequently you can learn from and iterate on your cycles, then that's a terrible ratio. We turn over our whole curriculum regularly, and with every testing period, we look deeply into the results of how students are achieving. We kind of have two metrics we look at. One is student growth results on these third-party assessments, where we're seeing crazy gains. Like one of our largest customers had 15 to 20 percentile point improvement on average. Like students that were in the 45th percentile on average moved up to like the 62nd percentile on average in their math scores, I think.
That's huge.
It's like these huge jumps. So we look at, that's the average. Obviously, some of our curriculum does much better than that, and some of our curriculum does much worse than that. And so we look at kind of which curriculum is doing better, and then the teachers analyze what things in there make it better, and they figure out how to apply those rules to the curriculum that's not doing so well. So they're kind of changing it over that way. And we also have a bunch of metrics on student engagement. Unlike textbook vendors, we have real-time daily updates about exactly how students are using our product. We ask them to rate whether they like it or not, and we ask them for their feedback, which students are very rarely asked for their feedback on the curriculum in school.
I'll say.
So, we use those two kind of data points to really, I think, for me, one of the most exciting challenges of this is, can we use the tools that are so effectively being used to, like, in the social, mobile, local, business, whatever, like there's a lot of innovation going on in kind of the software industry. Can we use some of those same tools that have proven effective there and apply them to this problem of optimizing education for our students so that we're getting more frequent iterations and kind of able to, help them learn more effectively. So, we're doing that.
Could you give our listeners a little insight of to like what's the form factor for how these kids are learning or moving up and down?
It's an iPad. It's about...
But no, sorry, not that, but like the actual, like, is it game-based? Is it multiple choice? Like, how are they learning? Is it content they're reading? Like, what's...
All of the above.
Really?
I think one of the beauties that we're taking advantage of is there's incredible variety. So when a student steps into eSpark, there's a number of different form factors. Some of it might be an instructional video, so they're watching a video. Another one might be a multiple choice quiz. The most exciting stuff is actually the third-party apps that are leveraging the gyroscope and the other multi-touch dimensions of the iPad to engage students in really new ways.
Cool.
So I think, one of the benefits for a student is the variety of types of learning experiences, and there's third-party app developers who are teaching the same concept in many different ways, and as a student you get to experience many different ways around the same concept, and that is more engaging and I think also more effective.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys tap into like Pearson or McGraw-Hill? Like, do you work with them in any capacity, or
It's really interesting.
how does that partnership work if there was one?
When we were pitching for investors, a lot of people said, well, why isn't Pearson and McGraw-Hill going to just eat your lunch when they wake up to the fact that iPads are an important learning tool? They've put out some apps, and it's pretty interesting. So when you look at the video game industry, look at the top 5 video game creators, Nintendo, Sony, all these other folks, and look at the ranking of App Store and video games. And there's almost no linking between the top 10 video games for iPad and the big creators, because the folks that have really scrapped all of the historical practices and reinvented video games in a touch environment are killing it, right?
Rovio. Yeah.
Yeah, and the same is true for education. So the McGraw-Hill, Pearson, they have apps. They end up being not the best. They're taking old concepts and trying to apply them in this new world. And the best folks are the ones like Motion Math who are just scrapping. They don't have any historical perspective on what an app is.
Sure.
Where do you guys want to go from here? Is the goal to grow? Is the goal to build more tech? I mean, where do you guys want to go? Take over the world, aside from.
I think we want to affect transformational change to the educational industry. And, I believe that personalized learning, as technology has transformed other industries, I think that the factory model of students moving in age-based cohorts through, fixed boxed-in classrooms with 30 kids in a single, that model has been the same since the 19th century, and I think that that's on its way to changing. So I want us, I think we have, there's a couple of ed tech companies that are really innovating here, and I think we're one of them that has the chance to really affect transformational change. So yes, we want to grow. We want to. There's a ton of really interesting technical challenges in figuring out how to grow. There's it's difficult to assemble and get all these different skill sets together, but that's our vision to really figure out how we can bring personalized learning to the whole world.
Well, you mentioned that you can see this grand transformation is coming, and who knows when it's coming. But what is the biggest barrier right now you see?
I think it's not so. At a lot of companies, there's traditional kind of scaling. You think, oh, how do I add more servers, and how do I can I put caching layers in and stuff? And our barriers to scale are not the sort of traditional engineering challenges that come up. We're running on a pretty small set of EC2 machines, and that part is easy. I think it's really this cultural shift. One of the reasons that we're so successful is that we have a staff of former teachers that goes into schools and helps work with teachers in schools. And what we're asking from teachers is not easy. It's not really just some supplemental thing that they do as an after-school program. This is students are using eSpark for maybe up to an hour a day during their school day. It's cutting out from real academic time, and the teachers need to adjust their classrooms, and the schools need to adjust their expectations of how much control they have over the devices. It's a lot easier to manage a bunch of textbooks than it is to manage a bunch of iPads. So I think there's just this wholesale cultural shift where schools just need to they're getting more familiar with technology. They have to see some success stories. And, we're just grinding away at helping school by school, helping the teachers and the parents and the students and the superintendents and the tech directors. And, we have one of the things about education is there's all these different users and customers. And, I think just helping them all get more comfortable with it. And I think we can do that by really doubling down on design and product. And, a lot of reason why schools are justifiably skeptical of a lot of technology is that there's been some really crappy technology in schools before. And so we're trying not to repeat that mistake. We're trying to really listen to our customers and, iterate quickly and apply the principles of good software development to create a product that makes them really happy.
Is it time for the most important question?
Ooh. I think it is.
It is time.
What is your favorite type, starting with Luke, what is your favorite type of bagel, and how do you like it prepared?
Oh, that's easy. Raisin, cinnamon raisin. And I really like, New York Bagels and Bialys on the Dempster in Skokie.
I love that place.
That's my favorite place. It's open 24 hours. They have the chive cream cheese that they make in-house. It's freaking amazing.
I went to high school with a kid whose dad owns that place.
Well, that is a lucky kid.
I don't think if you ask him, he would say that. He was there like at 3 a.m. making bagels. So
Yeah, I was probably buying them. So they
Toasted?
sometimes
Oh.
not from there.
Oh, you don't need it toasted.
And you rip them off. You don't cut them. From Bagels and Bialys, you just rip them off and dip them in cream cheese. It's fantastic.
man,
You guys got
that's
to go. It's on Dempster, right west of McCormick. Fantastic.
Okay. Favorite bagel?
Salt bagel, toasted, with double the jalapeno cream cheese.
Jalapeno cream cheese, my favorite. You must go. You must go. Where do you get them? You must go.
Einstein.
Whoa!
Actually got a reasonable bagel.
You need to try New York City bagel, salt bagel
Really?
with their jalapeno cream cheese
Unbelievable.
because
Legit real jalapenos.
they're really good.
Always plugging it. Yeah. Well, Luke, David, thank you so much for coming in here and letting us subject you to questions.
Thanks. This was a lot of
Bidding.
fun. Thanks for having
Awesome.
us.
Thanks for the bagels. I mean, actually, never mind.
Water.
Oh, Boonsky, that's it. That's all we're going on.
We're going to play some
Fill in the gaps today is Maps and Atlases, Chicago's very own music extraordinaires. Check them out at mapsandatlases.org or at bitesoverbagels.com. They're good.
And that concludes episode 25 of Bites Over Bagels! I can't believe we made it 25 episodes. You boys still look as young as you did in the first show.
Oh,
we feel a lot older though.
Join us on the show next week where we'll have
John,
Roa.
founder and CEO of Okta.
That's with an A, A-K-T-A.
Yeah, he's also doing a little something called Social Crunch as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that thing's
So,
not gonna
so
fail.
tune in next week. It's a good interview. We
Brett-
take the interviews ahead of time.
Brett was telling me how handsome he was this morning.
That guy's pretty handsome.
Yeah,
Tell
he's-
you what.
Nothing wrong with that.
His advisors are telling him to wear big boy clothes now, so
Yeah.
looking a little
He was
older.
just coming in a little bit too casual.
You know what? It was 105 degrees that day, and he was wearing a jacket.
Yeah. Guy rolls in sports coat. He's got a scarf on.
Problem.
Got driving gloves.
It's an ascot, not a scarf.
No, he didn't. Yeah, it was an ascot.
There you go.
Looked good, though.
Well, as always, you can check us out on BitesOverBagels.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Vine. And, of course, you can subscribe on iTunes. Finally, for those of you who would like to get updates and free coffee, you can.
Sign up to Bites Over Bagels newsletter at BitesOverBagels.com, and you will get 1 free cup of iced or cold coffee from either Bow Trust location, River North or Lakeview.
That concludes today's episode. We'll see you next week.